And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas.
We talk about all your favorite scary movies.
So this week we are talking about two scary movies, A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part 2.
Back to back.
Yeah, because the prequel is coming out soon, so we figured it was time for a rewatch.
Yep. They're fun movies. We saw them in theaters, both of them, right?
Yes.
So we saw the first one in theaters pre-COVID, and then we were going to see the whatever it was.
We were going to do the back-to-back screening.
But then COVID happened, so
and then they
we had
didn't
to wait
do that anymore.
Then we saw.
Yeah.
Was that one of the ones we saw post-COVID then?
Yeah,
Okay.
It was one of the first two movies. I don't know which we saw first, this or In the Heights.
Yeah, I think it was In the Heights.
They were the first two that we saw in 2021 when theaters came back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which was very fun. So they do hold a little bit of a special place in my heart, especially having been a longtime fan of The Office. So Jim Office.
No,
was
I
really
was going to make
exciting.
that joke. You butchered it. Whatever. It's fine. I had
It's a
one.
joke you took from someone on Twitter anyway.
Yep, I had a good
so don't act
setup,
like
though.
you're original. Well, the first Quiet Place movie came out in 2018. The cast included John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe. And it was written and directed by John Krasinski. At least that's what it says in the credits. John was not the original writer for the screenplay. It was originally written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. And it was based off a concept that they came up with in college. And then producers sent the script to John to gauge his interest in playing the role of the father. And then he expressed, ideas he had. And then he became a co-writer and director. But in the film's opening credits, I'm pretty sure he's the only one credited with having written it. Because I guess there were substantial enough changes that it was their story.
I'm sure. Or they sold rights. There's all kinds of crazy, I wasn't going to say litigation, but negotiations over credits. Like, there's even one in Mad Max Fury Road where Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy's titles are, diagonally, because one had to be higher than the other, but the other wasn't allowed to be beneath, so it had to be, diagonally offset.
That's extremely funny.
That's how it is, though. And then that's, some people get the with special guest, or...
Yeah.
So you want to either be at the front or the back, I think, or first or last. Yeah.
Well, written and directed by John Krasinski.
All right.
I was very proud of him because...
Jim Office.
So...
Jim Office and Emily Blunt. That's how I refer to them. Or Emily Blunt and her husband.
Emily Blunt and her husband is the correct way of saying it.
I don't know where... I know where the hate came. It was that... We talked about this the other day. His,
Some
stupid little
good
news thing.
Yeah.
He did that Some Good News thing where he had
During
the idea
COVID.
of good news and then just immediately sold it. And I was like, you're kind of a hack.
Everyone was like, wow, sell out much?
Yeah, and... Yeah, I don't know. But these movies I like, so I don't know. I shouldn't let the internet discourse make me dislike him.
I'm just going to throw it out there. I've said on a previous episode, I was like, I would watch things John Krasinski directs because I really like these movies.
Mm-hmm. But then he's doing that
stupid Imaginary Friends movie.
Yeah, it looks bad.
I take it back.
It looks real bad.
I take it back, John. You've ruined it. Imagine directing 2 horror movies and then doing that.
Well, he's going to come back and do a third one of these.
What a plot twist.
But my God, maybe go try something else that isn't. Well, I guess he did when he made a kids horror or kids movie,
and it was bad. So it seems like horror might be his genre.
Maybe.
Turns out, who would have thought? Especially because he didn't really like or watch horror movies before A Quiet Place, and I feel like all things considered, it is a really great film.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good horror film. He's no Jordan Peele, but
no.
yeah, I was impressed. I thought it was cool to cast himself and his wife in it.
Well, I think when he was reading it, he was like, I want this role to go to Emily because she'd be amazing. But he felt nervous pitching it to her. He was like, what if she doesn't like my script? I'll feel like shit. So then he was was in talks with other people. And then finally she was like, John, this is my part. And he was like, oh, okay.
Good for her.
So it all worked out. And, they obviously do have very strong chemistry, so I'm okay with it. Some more background on the film. Okay, the background on this film is so interesting. I was reading it for way too long because I just found, all of the facts fascinating.
Well, we got 2 films to get through, so read them.
Yeah,
to me.
my bad.
And I got to edit this episode today because it's Tuesday and it comes out tomorrow.
Yeah,
because we were at a wedding.
Having a hard time managing our responsibilities.
We were at a wedding, all right. We were in a wedding.
We were in the wedding, so that took up like multiple days of time, like full days. Anyway, so this film is very, very much utilizes American Sign Language. The characters communicate in ASL to avoid making sound, so the filmmakers hired a mentor to teach ASL to be actors and like be available during filming to make corrections. Millicent Simmons, who plays Reagan, the daughter in the film, is deaf, so she also needed an interpreter. But John Krasinski had always said during the production of the film it was incredibly important for him to cast someone who was deaf for this role. He wanted it to be authentic, both for the film, but also because, like, allyship and, like,
giving an opportunity
to an actress that otherwise, like, wouldn't necessarily get roles. And I think because they were able to do that, they were able to, like, give even her, the way she signs, a lot of personality. Like, her signing is, like, very sassy and sharp compared to, like, some of the signing that other people does. And I just don't know if you would have that if you didn't have this representation with an actual deaf actress.
Yeah, and she's really quite good in this, so it's kind of a shame that she probably won't be in franchises outside of this.
Well, I hope that her being great in this has given her other opportunities.
I really hope.
I know it's not her first movie. I don't know how big of a role she had before A Quiet Place.
She's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, she's really good.
This might be crazy to say. She probably outacts Emily Blunt in this. And Emily Blunt's a really talented actor. She definitely outacts John Krasinski. Sorry. But
yeah, the women definitely are.
Well, John Krasinski's not. He's not a great actor. He's fine.
What?
He's fine. Would you think he's a good actor?
I haven't seen him in much. I'm not even going to lie.
Because he's not in much. Because he's not that good. Sorry, Jim Office.
He's great as Jim Office. He's actually so good.
He is good in this. And I'm just saying I don't think he's like...
I mean, they approached him. Like, it wasn't like they approached Emily. Like, they approached John.
That's it. All right. Maybe I'm just talking shit, but I just feel like he's fine. I mean, maybe he's got some breakout performance in him that's going to come in the near future. But I think he's just fine. I think he likes doing other stuff, clearly.
Let's not talk shit.
No, I want him to. I want to see him direct more.
I do too. So some more background related to the sound is that the first line of dialogue in this film isn't verbally spoken until 37 minutes in. And that it's like a 90-minute movie.
That was the big gimmick of this movie, and it was funny because I remember Bird Box coming out later, and it was like, oh, this is just reverse, or not reverse, but...
which one came out first?
Oh, is it the other way around?
Bird Box is also based off a book that definitely came out before A Quiet Place.
Well, it's funny because we had two movies about the same thing. Bird Box you can't see, A Quiet Place you can't talk, and Bird Box is not very good.
They came out in the same year.
That's so funny.
And A Quiet Place is definitely the superior of
Bird Box is not good. So the whole 37-minute thing, that was a big deal, and I liked it because, obviously film roots in silent films. Mm-hmm. And so, now you have to make a silent film.
Well, it also makes it accessible for deaf viewers because you do not need sound to watch this movie at all.
That is pretty cool.
And I was actually rewatching while working the other day. He
doesn't use a lot of music either.
Yeah, I was rewatching while working, and I kept having to pause because I was like, well... nothing, I can't hear anything because there is no sound. So this is not a great movie to be watching while looking at a computer.
No movies are good to be watching looking at a computer, Hannah.
Well, bitch, what do you want me to do?
It's a visual medium.
Okay, then we wouldn't be able to do this episode because I need to rewatch to
I don't need to get these movies memorized by heart.
I don't do that, so... There also are no doors open and closed in this film because...
Can't. Sound.
Too much sound.
Very creative. No, I'm sorry. I was saying I like that it's rooted in obviously silent film being where film started, and so it's cool to, I think for him at least, his first time director, to express that muscle, or what am I saying? Exercise that muscle, that brain muscle. What was wrong with me? And was very impressive. They
also apparently while filming they made everyone on the crew really quiet.
So they couldn't.
the whole set.
All right, well, I don't know if you need to do that, but that's fine.
Well, because they wanted to amplify the sounds that they did make.
I just think you really have to, from a directing standpoint, really think hard about how do you tell your story without dialogue when we're very used to dialogue.
And it does require like good performances.
Yes, and good forethought and good blocking.
And that's why I fought back on you a little for saying he was bad in this or not good.
He's
because
not. I didn't say he was bad in this.
You could not have this movie with people who all like weren't at least pretty good.
Yeah, no, I was just talking shit. He's good in this, and clearly a good director. If we just look at this movie and the second one. Well,
in addition to being the writer, director, actor, he also played the creature in the motion capture suit for multiple scenes.
No, that's crazy.
And for the first test screenings of the film, there was a lot of laughter whenever the creature was present because they hadn't finished the CGI or done it at all. So they just saw John Krasinski in a motion capture suit.
That's amazing.
And so once they fixed that, the screenings were very well received.
But that needs to be done because when you don't have someone physical to react to, actors look like they're staring off into space. It's the big, and we'll bitch about Marvel again, it's the lack of pre-planning is what makes CGI look bad. The reason all of our CGI doesn't look like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is because people are late. Producers are lazy sometimes, and one thing's done quickly, and sometimes directors are lazy, and there's not enough pre-planning.
Well, I really, really enjoyed thinking about that, and I do think there was a lot of like forethought in every detail of this movie.
Yes, yeah, clearly.
Did I have any more fun facts? Oh, this film was up for an Oscar.
Oh yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. What Oscar was it?
Guess. You can guess.
Know.
You can guess.
Director.
Best sound editing.
Man, I don't know.
I mean, it's the movie with
sound. Well, it doesn't have any sound, so lack of sound editing.
Well, there are obviously scenes where there are like
there's crunchy sounds.
They do a really good job with the sound and like the experience that gives you, whether that's like relating to her and how her world is totally silent, or feeling like the other characters and what they are hearing and experiencing. I do think it's really well done.
When there is loud noises, I said it's crunchy. It's scary. And I remember we saw this in theaters, and everyone was making so much noise with their popcorn.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of all of you.
That was another big thing. It was like the theater was so quiet. It's like uncomfortably quiet.
It was the goddamn.
It was hard to watch in the theaters almost. No, I would choose theater over at home any day. So.
Oh, this movie was so. Besides, like when I wanted to like literally strangle people behind me, this was a great theater watch. Yep. Okay, I've spent a really long time talking about background because, like I said, I found it really interesting and fun. Mm-hmm. So. Let's do summaries.
Okay. I had a joke, and I feel like you've ruined it, but I'll do it anyway.
Why? Why do you feel like I ruined it?
No, it's fine.
I guess I'll see what it is shortly. Okay.
Are you ready? Is this my 15 seconds?
Yep.
Got it.
Go.
All right. Gym office finally shuts the fuck up. That was what it was going to be. But then you brought up gym office already. The dude never stops talking. All right. You ready? Mm-hmm. Go.
Aliens that attack based off sound have invaded farm, and family is trying to protect each other from monster without making sound.
But they had a baby.
That was a choice. But also, like, what are you gonna fucking do? Like, like, what precautions can you take if you're out of protection? Like, only so much is gonna be successful. And there's only so many things you can do once you're pregnant in this, like, apocalyptic universe. Whatever people complain about that,
I get annoyed. Like, why would they have a baby? I was like, because the scrranwriter decided they'd have a baby. Like, shut the fuck up.
Like, even if you think about the confines of the movie, it makes sense that they had the baby. What else were they going to do? What made, like, I mean, you could think about it might have made more sense to immediately kill the baby, but, like, they weren't going to not have the baby once the baby was conceived. I don't know what to tell you, logic dumbasses, but...
No, it's not even that. Even you were like trying to you can't out-logic these logic people. It's the movie decided that that's what was going to happen, so that's what was going to happen.
Fair enough.
It's a dumb complaint, and the movie's still cool, and it adds tension. You would just want a worse movie.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense thematically why they would have a kid too.
Yes.
You're not going to just... It's like, I'll wait till we get to themes, but... Or, no, I'll say it now. It's like saying we would just not continue to live our lives during COVID, right? Like we had to adapt. Mm-hmm. We were in homes. People can adapt it, even though we were concerned about getting sick because we didn't know what was going on. But you adapt. These people are not going to just stop living because of what's there. So it's like human nature is hard to beat. Mm-hmm. So like they're going to have kids still. And also they probably are in their minds sad about losing a child and are kind of trying to replace or not replace, but fill that void that they have. And like they're not going to stop living. They're trying to have some sense of normalcy. It is pretty fucking dumb of them, but I get it. All right?
Yeah.
And all you motherfuckers out there that say you don't get it, or probably would also have a child in this scenario. Just saying. I could totally see it.
All right. Well, give us the summary and be quick about it because we have a lot to get to.
Okay. Sightless aliens with sharp hearing and impenetrable armor plating have taken over the planet and killed most of the human population. The Abbott family, mother Evelyn, father Lee, deaf daughter Reagan, and sons Marcus and Bo live on an isolated farm. When the family goes into a nearby town for supplies, Bo finds a toy space shuttle, but Lee makes him leave it behind due to the noise it would make if powered on. As they are getting ready to leave, Reagan secretly gives him back the toy, but without its batteries. When they leave, Bo takes back the batteries without anyone noticing. While walking back home, Bo turns on the space shuttle, which starts making noise. Almost immediately, Bo is killed by a nearby creature before Lee can reach him. Over a year after Bo's death, the family has seemingly gone back to normal, with Evelyn several months pregnant. Marcus reluctantly goes fishing with Lee, while Reagan, upset that she cannot go, visits Bo's grave. While everyone is gone, Evelyn goes into labor, and while heading to the basement, she accidentally steps on a nail and smashes a photo frame, alerting nearby creatures in the area. She bypasses a creature in the house using egg timer, and Marcus and Lee drive the creature out of the house using fireworks, allowing Evelyn to safely give birth to her baby. Reagan, seeing the fireworks, runs back to the house. Lee then enters the house and brings the baby and Evelyn into a hiding spot under the floor in the barn outside. The baby cries, alerting a creature into the barn. The creature fails to find the source but breaks some water pipes. Evelyn wakes up in the flooded hideout, with the creature still inside and is forced to hide behind the falling water to mask her sound. Marcus and Reagan go to the top of the corn silo and light a signal fire to other distant farms, but Marcus falls into the silo and gets stuck in the corn. The creature in the hideout runs towards the silo and attacks Reagan and Marcus. The creature's disruptive effects on electronics causes Reagan's cochlear, remind me later, implant to emit a high-pitched noise, which causes the creature to reel in pain and retreat, breaking a hole in the silo, which frees the children. Lee finds Reagan and Marcus, directing them to the truck, and then is wounded by a creature. The creature proceeds to ambush the vehicle due to Marcus's screams, but Lee instead proceeds to yell to draw the creature's attention, sacrificing himself to the creature in order to allow Marcus and Reagan to coast in the truck back to the house safely. Making their way back to their house and being greeted by Evelyn, they hear the screeches of a nearby creature. They go back into the house where the creature enters and ambushes them. Reagan, realizing the weakness the creature had to the high-pitched noise from her cochlear implant, proceeds to remove her implant and place it on a microphone, amplifying the high-pitched noise that causes the creature to reel in pain and expose its soft, vulnerable inner mouth, allowing Evelyn to shoot it dead. Armed with a new weapon against the creatures, the family prepare to defend themselves from other creatures. She cocks the gun, and the movie cuts to black.
It's a pretty sick end.
It is a pretty sweet
cocking
end.
The gun.
Which almost made me not want to have a sequel. However, I do enjoy the sequel, so we'll get to that when we get there.
It's a pretty good sequel, I'm not even going to lie. Okay, what do we like? Besides the end gun cock.
Well, we already said a lot of the stuff. We like the
sound.
Doing the sound design and not being able to speak really, just like, you have to do so much other cool stuff. I wish I could put this better, but I feel like you have to really speak with the way, with the camera. Facial expressions
and your nonverbal.
I'm talking about as a director, not the actors. I'm talking about the director has to speak to the audience with blocking and camera movements and things like that, which is I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. The set is good. Overall, it looks very good. Mm-hmm. That opening scene is upsetting.
Iconic.
Like really fun and scary opening scene.
I really need to talk about the opening scene. So first, the world building is immediate. The posters, the lack of sound completely, like there is no sound for many minutes. They kind of set up that there's the radio to communicate with other people. They set up kind of this family of 5 that they're rooting. They're going through a pharmacy. So you definitely have the desolate landscape very much set up.
They have all the sand. I didn't talk about the sand. The sandbags poured out and they all have to walk around barefoot.
Yeah, it's all very much established immediately. And then the kid's death is such a brutal way to demonstrate the threat, and I love it. I love it. It's so good.
The lack of seeing the creature, the speed in which it moves, too, to take him out is good. And I think there's an amazing shot of Jim, John running. I was making a joke. John, running, and at the last second, the creature just like
swiping
as he's like
the kid. Literally.
Yeah, and it cuts to black, and then we cut a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So very, very cool.
So good.
Yeah, really the whole setting is really well thought out, especially like the sand stuff, as I was saying before, the farm, all their plans for the baby they have like that little box thing, you know, and like they have plans with the fireworks and all this other stuff to try to distract. Definitely Prepper's wet dream. You know?
Well, and I think this movie does a lot of like really good setup, like him setting up that he's been trying the radio, which actually comes back more in the sequel than this one. The nail on the floor, the hearing aid, like the fact that he is working on that, handing that to her, like all of these things do come back up. So the initial like 30 minutes might be a lot of setup, but it also is showing you how these people are living in this world, and it all ties together. It's very, very good
world building, and also sets up the personalities of all the characters, I would say.
Yeah, very well. This movie, once the action kicks off, which is Emily Blunt's character going into labor. Also, I will say I'm not calling them by their character names because the movie doesn't ever say their character names until the credits. The first time we learn John Krasinski's character's name is when he is dead in the second one. Like, they never say it, so that's why I'm just, like, naturally calling them by the actor names, but, yeah, when she goes into labor, the movie escalates into a full fucking sprint, and it literally does not stop till it's over.
That's a good way. I mean, it's not super long. I think that's a good way to do a horror movie, too. You have your kind of inciting action, and it all takes place in one night.
Mm-hmm. It's also, like, this film is peak Murphy's Law along with that, which is anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Like, the second any of these characters have, like, a breather of, like, okay, mom and baby are safely underground and monster can't hear them. Oh, it's flooding. Like, there is no moment of peace.
And it's not due to them doing anything dumb.
They haven't fucked up anything.
Other than having a baby.
It's just, like, the universe that they live in and the consequence of having monsters that are attacking their house. Like, that's just what it is.
There's a really corny thing, though, where there's the shot of his whiteboard where it was like, it's very much like nothing anyone would ever write on a whiteboard. It's just for the audience, where it's like, monsters in Area 3. What is the weakness? Written, like, huge on there. And I think that's very funny.
It kind of does look like my notes when I was trying to brainstorm a paper in college.
Yeah, but I think it's been a year.
Yeah.
I think he'd be past that, but it's funny. It's not an actual complaint.
That would be like, I would write, like, a Post-it note of, like, a very broad thing, and then I'd write, like, draw arrows
what is
to
the weakness?
That, or other Post-it notes around it that, like, elaborate to it.
Yeah.
Which he took those Post-it notes off, so it just says, what is the weakness now?
It reminds me...
And the weakness is, like, there's, like, a box around it, like, really highlighting it. What is thus now important? It's just weakness.
It reminds me of in video games. So the gamers are notoriously bad at following directions. So in games, they will just throw shit like that on walls or have to paint everything in red or yellow to let you know you can interact with it. Mm-hmm. Understandably, that one makes sense to me. But that was like Dead Space. It was like aim for their limbs. It just said on the wall, like written in blood. And I think it's very funny to me. Or cut off their limbs. I don't know. So I get it. The audience is dumb. We have to be told that information.
Literally. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is we're stupid.
Well, we are. Yeah, that's fine.
And to be fair, that is a really central part of the plot of the movie. So they're really just telling you, like, hey, you're going to figure this out. Is that cool? Hope that's cool. Yeah, I do think it's a little corny, and I did notice that this time around. I was like, but also, like, it doesn't take anything out of it, like, away from it.
Can I say things I don't like?
Yeah.
The creature design is abysmal.
I was just about to say, what do you think of the creature design?
It is great when you don't see them and when they're moving quickly. The second you start to see them, it looks like every single fucking creature of that, really the past decade, and I shouldn't say every, sorry, I'm being hyperbolic. A lot of them look like that. The Demogorgon looks exactly like that.
Yeah,
every like cool slimy creature looks like the Demogorgon or like this.
It really looks like the Demogorgon.
I don't know what our deal is. I don't know where like the human brain can't comprehend something scarier than that.
I don't know. I think it's kind of scary.
I'm just more annoyed that I've seen it
Before.
a bunch of times.
I do like what I will say about the creature, as much as it's not that original, frankly, as you're saying. I do think what it does with its face that shows that it's listening. Instead of like cool. Eyes, it just has like a giant face ear.
That is pretty cool.
I think when that moves and like the noise it makes when that moves is really creepy.
I think my issue, and this happens with a lot of monsters, is it's just not scary anymore after we see it.
Once you see it. Luckily, we don't see it for
most
a while.
of the movie. Yep.
And thank goodness.
But I wouldn't say that about Jurassic Park, which this movie definitely took inspiration from.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
the raptors remain scary the whole time.
The corn silo scene is literally
very much out of Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, yeah. Which is a great scene. It's really
it's also a reasonable. I remember watching. I was like, "Oh, they're doing a Jurassic Park," and it was good.
Speaking of the corn that I just said, they planted 20 tons of corn and hired local farmers to grow it.
That's like a really scary thing, that like in silos that people die like that.
Yeah,
because the corn gets like stuck together on the top, and you won't know. There's like
that
holes.
scene is really scary.
It's one of the scarier. Yeah, people die like that a lot.
I will say I've seen the first one like 5+ times, and the second one I watched the second time for this episode. So the first one I didn't have too many like gasps. I had one hide that was inadvertent. Like I just naturally closed my eyes at something, but no screams and very few gasps from the first one. The second one got me gasping a couple times.
The second, we can talk about.
And we look at them.
I do find the first one to have some very good tense moments that are set up, like the nail. I find it to be a very tense movie. I don't find it to be overly scary, but I do very much enjoy it. The second one I think has really like almost panic-inducing, stressful moments.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Besides the creature design, is there anything else that you just like blatantly do not like?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything. I don't think this movie's a masterpiece by any stretch. But like, I don't think I have too much to complain about. I think it's quite unique. Well, my shit talking was the creature design. I love the way it ends. I think its length is great. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I think I like everything about it.
So, do you have any hot takes about this movie? I didn't look up terrible takes for either of these.
That's okay. We have to be faster. I don't know if I have any hot takes about this.
I guess my hot take is that, people on the internet have recently, this has been recently on Twitter, where people have been shit-talking the opening scene and how it's dumb or something. My hot take is that you're all dumb.
That's not what are they complaining about? I saw someone complain why would they let the little kid walk at the back? And I was like, because it's cool for the movie. It makes a tense scene. Also, clearly all the kids are pretty independent, as they've been.
Also, Millicent is supposed to be with him.
True.
I think the implication is, because one of the kids is sick. So, they're paying attention to the sick kid, and they've been alternating carrying the sick kid all day.
Yeah.
So they need a fucking second break, okay?
I also assume why am I arguing with these people? But I just assume in this post-apocalyptic world that the kids have grown to be pretty independent because they have to be to survive. So the parents, I'm sure, have pushed independency and you got to carry your own shit. You got to take care of yourself in here. And unfortunately, that kid just did something really dumb. Mm-hmm. But it's he's a child. I get it.
Kids don't listen.
It seemed pretty natural for that to happen. Mm-hmm. It seemed pretty natural for Lee to be the one John leading the way.
His character is Lee, but
I know.
We just
you said
never
not to say
hear it at all in the movie.
I don't know. It's a great scene, and I find that the people that make these complaints just want worse movies, and it's fine. You just want worse movies that you wouldn't see and wouldn't make money, and go fuck yourself. You know? That's all I got.
Do you have a favorite or scariest scene?
Man, I love when because the whole side of this movie is that Reagan thinks that she isn't loved by her father, and so when he sacrifices himself and signs the
I love you I will always love you.
And then screams, and it's like a very, I guess I would call it like a cathartic moment, though. Like, it's very upsetting, but like it obviously drives home the themes about parenthood in this movie, and I really, really like it.
I cried think the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
I cried.
I feel like you probably see it coming from a mile away, and that's okay. Like,
yeah.
You know that's how this is going to go. And like, she really does believe that her father doesn't love her because she let her little brother die, and they're trying to replace the little brother with a new baby. And I feel like
she feels like she's a burden because she
has a disability. Yep.
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. So for him to be like, no, that's never been the case. Like, I just got a lot of other shit on my plate.
Yeah.
And I like how that carries over into the second movie as well.
Yeah.
Like, for her and her journey, because this really is kind of about her.
Yeah.
Both movies.
I was hoping you would say something else because...
Is that your favorite?
That was my favorite.
Well, clearly it was very impactful. It
was extremely impactful. I tear up like every time.
I got one visually when the fireworks are going off. I feel like anytime the fireworks were going off, it was so cool with like characters running through the corn.
The scene when they come up to the farm and she has set off the red lights because she's in labor. Yes. And they like look at it, they pause, and then they take off running. Yep. I was like, oh,
this movie, the color in this is great, especially like in those scenes. It's very fun. All right, what else we got to say? We got to do themes, and then we got to go to the next one.
Family.
It's about parenthood, and John Krasinski says that as well. It's about.
There's a line that says, "Who are we if we can't protect them?"
Yeah. Like, it's about parenthood, and he, I guess, had just started, or had kids.
He had just had his second.
And was freaking out over, like, what if I'm a bad parent? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen as a parent? Obviously, like, you can't protect your children from threats. Which you can't, no matter what you do. No matter how much you helicopter parent, you're not going to be able to protect your children from falling down, getting hurt, or anything, you know? Like, you got to, and that's scary. That's terrifying. Like, it is kind of a fear that you have to get over almost, you know, because you can't. And like, when they grow up, you can't protect them either. And I think that's like the big part, but also just feeling as a failure as a parent, which he kind of did fail a little bit by making Reagan feel the way she did. What do you think?
I agree with all of that.
Oh, okay, all of that. All right.
Yeah, I don't have like really anything. I think the theme is very on the nose, but that's okay. Yeah,
but I guess I to say he's failed maybe is like harsh.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say he's failed. I think it's very easy. Common as a parent, like the littlest thing that you do will fuck up your kids.
And you won't even know.
And you won't know. And I think that is a big part of this.
But to acknowledge your mistake, which he does.
And when you think about it, like, as much as she might feel that he doesn't like her, he's been showing the whole movie that he gives a shit. Like,
everything he does is for them.
Yeah, and especially, like, he's been fixing her hearing aid. That's not benefiting anybody else. Like, that's for her because he gives a shit.
And that ultimately is what saves them,
her.
too.
Yeah.
And I think she knows that as well.
And I think that's a big thing going into the sequel. She wants to emulate her dad. Yeah. And that's why she does what she does. Partially because she's a good person, but also because she knows her dad would do that.
I wanted to touch on what you said about how, like, the littlest thing a parent can do, and that maybe John Krasinski's aware of that. Like, it's really easy to fuck your kids up.
Yes.
Like, very easy. But I think his thesis a little bit here is, like, acknowledging, apologizing, and doing everything you can to, like, show them that you care for them and, like, love them can counter that, you know, or can, like, fix any of that. And I think that's cool.
Yeah,
it's a nice thing.
But it's
a start.
It's a start. It's what you should be doing as a parent. And yeah, I feel like I watched this and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure him and Emily are good parents.
I was gonna say, is it also trying to say, and kids, give your parents a little bit of a break?
It could be saying give them a little grace. Like, you don't know what your parents are going through.
I think, and you and I have talked about this outside the movie before, that a lot of kids don't, or when you're a kid, you don't realize that your parents are also like people and they can fuck up and they might be fuck ups.
Oh, literally the first time my mom fucked up scheduling one of my play dates when I was like 4, I had a screaming meltdown and I apparently said, "You're my mommy, you can't make mistakes, you're perfect." And my mom was like, "Oh my god, fuck." And then she was like, "I don't think you liked me ever again. Like, I truly think you've hated me since." And I was like, well, that's dramatic, but like I quite literally thought that my parents were not capable of mistakes. Which is really funny. It's hardcore.
There you go, parents. Don't make mistakes. For the parents listening.
Your 5-year-old will remember forever.
Yeah. Oh, that is funny.
But yeah, I mean, that is how it feels when you're younger. I do think that, like, as people, we all need to give each other grace sometimes, but also not tolerate total bullshit either. Not that I'm saying that's in this movie, but...
Okay.
I think one of the other things that I wanted to mention is I do think the purpose of this movie, in a lot of ways, is also to be representative, and to have that, like, disability rep. This movie has been praised for being very accessible, because it is. Like, this movie uses sign language and subtitles, and you very much can watch the movie without sound. John Krasinski actually edited the first 2 cuts of the movie without sound at all. So, because he wanted it to be accessible without sound. I was talking about
director language.
Yes.
So clearly he's got it. Just make better movies, man. Or make more movies. You're allowed to have your little dumb children passion project that sucks.
And I think this movie's also, like I said earlier, it does utilize sound so we can see the world through her eyes. Like, there are scenes of her where there's no sound at all, and we can, like, see the monster behind her, but, like, she can't hear it, so she doesn't know it's there. And so it, like, kind of gives us at least a somewhat understanding of what it's like to not be able to hear. But it also, like, shows us that, like, that doesn't make her not strong or important as a character, because she is the hero of the movie.
Yep. Fully agree with everything you're saying. I'm not adding anything.
It is... I am rewatching season 8 of Love Island, and one of the...
we gotta go to the second.
No. One of the girls has a cochlear implant. Tasha. And she...
Shout out Tasha.
She says in the first episode, when she tells all of them about it, she says, "This is my superpower." And so he ended up getting, her partner, who she's still with from that season, ended up getting a tattoo in honor of that, and then said he got a tattoo of his person's superpower.
Oh, that's really cute.
And so I think this movie is, like, very much, that is her superpower. Like, she does use that to her advantage, and she saves, we're assuming she has the capacity to save a lot of people that way. And she does set out to do that, because she's not a piece of shit. All
right, let's rate it and get to the sequel, since that led into it.
You rate it first.
I don't know how to rate it. It's good. I don't know. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Okay.
I really like this movie.
I feel like some of these movies are just, like, they're just good. They're not, like, anything groundbreaking, but I like them. But 8 feels high. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did I just watch? What did I give Challengers? Like a 4.5?
Yeah, I think so.
4.5, sorry, out of 5. So 9. I might have given it an 8 or a 9. I like Challengers better than A Quiet Place. I'm sorry.
I like them pretty equivalently.
Interesting. Okay.
I really liked Challengers.
Challengers is really good. Everyone go see Challengers. If we could cover it, really I would. It's so fun.
Yeah, and it was a great movie, and the trailer sucked. Okay.
Yeah, the trailer was terrible, and the movie was so good. Okay.
So let's get into part 2. Part 2. Cast. John Krasinski is in the opening sequence. Otherwise, the cast is the same of Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe, with the addition of one of our main characters being Cillian Murphy. Also written and directed by John Krasinski. This story was all his. Like, obviously.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Also crazy, you ended up getting Cillian and Emily Blunt together for Oppenheimer years later.
Oh, yeah.
Both, like, world-class actors. Also adding, I'm sorry, John Krasinski, but, like, being replaced by Cillian Murphy, like...
That's crazy.
Brutal, dude. Like, you're going to be compared to him. That dude is, like, world-class actor.
Yeah.
And John is just... fine. He's just Jim Office, you know? I feel bad. I'm talking shit. He's good.
Millicent Simmons, and we're going to get into the plot description, but she describes her character as having a lot of pressure to become an adult very quickly, and says...
Hold up.
People...
like, you hadn't already living in this world?
I know, but like, for real, you do see it. You do see the difference. And she does have a more prominent role, which people have said, like, in this role and in this film, deafness and American Sign Language are inherently linked to the heroicism of its heroine.
Hell yeah.
Which is awesome.
Very,
and like
very
we said, representation matters.
I think also, I'd have to guess... If she hadn't been the actress in the first one, I don't think we get the part 2 written the way it is. I feel like, to me, looking at it, I feel these movies are probably very influenced by her as an actress. Would you agree with that?
No, and I think when you read about the production, it seems that way.
Yeah, it seems like, which is very cool. That's like a very neat thing. I'm sure that happens a decent amount, but in this case, like, for John to be like, nah, this girl, she's special. We gotta, like, woman. I feel like bad calling her a girl.
I don't know how old she is. Marketing for this movie was incredibly funny. They, in early March, because again, this was set to come out in March of 2020, Paramount initiated survival room experiences in New York and LA, in which groups of visitors could try to overcome physical and mental obstacles without making noise.
Oh, very fun.
That is fucking hilarious. And had it been in Philly, we would have done it, because I'm corny like that.
I hope stuff like this is coming back post-COVID. Like, I know people are going to the theaters. It just, no one knows what anyone wants to see, because, like, Furiosa did bad, but, you know, Oppenheimer did great, which is good.
Yeah.
And I think it's just very odd what is doing well.
Well, Oppenheimer wasn't predicted to have done as well as it did without Barbie.
And it annihilated.
But it didn't do as well as Barbie. But it did well because of Barbie. Like, you can argue.
But let's think, like, Asteroid City made the most money in the box office of any Wes Anderson film. Like, who would have thought that?
Wild and, like...
Who would have thought that was going to happen? Then Furiosa comes out after... Well, I guess Mad Max Fury Road didn't do well. Like, it did well critically, but not You would think it would, like, crush, and it just didn't so far.
Speaking of Quiet Place, the first one fucking slammed in the box office. Compared to its budget was under 20 mil, and it made over 300 mil.
Yeah, so what did... do you know much about this one?
It's Cat Feeder.
We're leaving that in, I don't care, because we were in the middle of talking.
Meow, meow, meow.
People love that. I've been told that some people like the background noises and weird stuff going on. It makes them giggle.
Well, enjoy that. The second movie's budget was $55 million, and it made $297, which is actually really impressive.
Making that for 55 is pretty damn good.
So, yeah, and the second one definitely takes on a lot more set and, like, areas, so, like, it would inherently cost more. This was supposed to come out March 18th, 2020.
Yikes.
The premiere had happened, I think, the week before.
It's just brutal.
So the world immediately shut down right after the premiere.
March 2020, or sorry, the 22nd or something?
March 17th was like when shit really started to like shut down. And again, this was supposed to come out.
Just going to be a couple weeks. We were just getting a couple weeks off of work at school. It was going to be great. Uh-oh.
And Paramount was like, we are not rescheduling this. It's not an option. We've already spent 60% of our like ad budget. Like we are not stopping. And the world said, absolutely not. Fuck you, Paramount. So,
whoa. We love Paramount.
And John, even at the time, said, like, I want people to see them together. And we were planning to go to a release that was a back-to-back. He said, the right way to see this is together, so this is not the right time. And then, obviously, when it came back, they didn't have many of those showings. That wasn't an option. Because at the time that it came back, it was still, like, mildly shady to go to the movies. So it ended up being released in May in 2021. And CNBC wrote that, in particular, A Quiet Place 2 and In the Heights needed to be experienced with a crowd.
In the Heights was a very fun theater watch. So.
Yes, and those are the two that we saw.
It was pretty packed. That was a post. Did COVID maybe actually save theaters?
I don't know.
Is that crazy to say? Because I feel like it made everyone forget. I feel like it made everyone remember that they liked the theater because everyone wanted to get out. Mm-hmm. So now it was like post-COVID, everyone's like, get me in the goddamn movie theater. And then obviously Top Gun Maverick came out, which was like a huge deal. And
saving grace of theaters.
No Way Home.
No Way Home was like
No Way Home and Top Gun Maverick were. Yeah. And meanwhile, I don't think the movie's overly good, but
I've only seen it that one time
in theaters. I don't know if I need to see it again. I enjoyed it.
I swear that was like the most excited I've ever been. I literally cried when Doc Ock said, "Hello, Peter."
That is very lame.
Cried.
Matt,
I love Spider-Man 2.
So do I.
You know that about me.
I love Spider-Man 2 as well.
And I also love Willem Dafoe. So, like, when they showed up in the trailer, the first time I saw the trailer, I cried. I cried in the movie. I have a problem. I don't know what to tell you. I have emotions.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to add on, like you said earlier, Krasinski has plans for a third and final Quiet Place film in the trilogy of movies. It will be the last one that John will have a part in, apparently.
Okay.
And it has been officially confirmed with a 2025 release date planned.
But we're getting this weird spin-off day one that I think looks kind of bad.
Was not written or directed by Krasinski, but he did contribute to story.
All right, I guess that helps.
And it has one of the characters from A Quiet Place Part 2.
I just think it looks... I thought the idea was cool, and then now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look like it's innovative in any way.
Well, it has, like, really good actors in it, so I'm, like, hopeful that it's not a piece of shit, but...
eat my shoe. You know? Isn't that what they say?
I will eat your shit.
No, eat my shoe.
No, I'm just quoting Borat. Okay, so Quiet Place Part 2. What do we... We're not even going to do a fucking 15-second summary.
That's fine, we don't have to.
Summary.
Similar things happen. I get a summary here, though.
Yeah, give us the full summary, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, so we go back to the past. During a Little League baseball game, the Abbott family witnessed a strange meteor-like object hurtling towards Earth. Shortly after, hostile extraterrestrial creatures emerge from the meteor and begin slaughtering the townspeople. Over a year later, the creatures have killed much of the Earth's population, including Lee and Bo. Reagan has discovered that high-frequency audio feedback makes them vulnerable and devises a makeshift method of transmitting the noise from her cochlear implant through a portable microphone. With their home destroyed, the family searches for other survivors, entering a fenced-off area. Evelyn accidentally sets off a sound alarm, alerting the creatures. As they flee, Marcus steps into a bear trap, attracting a creature with his screams. Reagan and Evelyn kill the creature, free Marcus, and run to an abandoned steel foundry. An old friend, Emmett, takes them to his soundproof underground hideout. Emmett, who has recently lost his family and developed a cynical outlook on life, refuses to help further. Marcus hears the song Beyond the Sea playing on the radio, and Emmett says the song has aired continuously for 4 months. Reagan determines it is a hint that survivors on a nearby island, a day's travel to the southeast. She theorizes that if she can reach the island's radio tower, the hearing aid's high-frequency noise can be broadcast so other survivors can weaponize the signal. She ventures out alone to find the island, and later Emmett saves her from a creature. Reagan persuades him to help her complete her mission. Evelyn leaves Marcus and her newborn baby at the foundry to fetch medical supplies in town. Marcus discovers the corpse of Emmett's wife. Startled, he alerts a creature and accidentally locks himself and the baby in an airtight compartment. Emmett and Reagan arrive at a marina to board a boat to the island. They are attacked by bandits, and Emmett deliberately attracts creatures that slaughter the attackers. When one creature drowns, he realizes that the creatures cannot swim. The two row to the island, where a small colony of survivors are living normally. The colony leaders reveal that when the U.S. government discovered the creatures, they weren't able to swim. The U.S. National Guard attempted to move people to the islands. However, the chaos from boarding created noise that attracted the creatures, leaving only 2 boats that made it to the island. Evelyn returns and frees her children before they suffocate. The 3 hide inside the bunker as the creature prowls the foundry. At the island the next day, a creature that's drifted to the island attacks the colonists and kills the colony leader. At the radio station, Reagan transmits the high frequency via the station's signal and plays over the station's speakers, incapacitating the creature and then killing it with a metal pole. At the foundry, Marcus picks up Reagan's transmission and plays it through a high-pitched frequency through his portable radio before shooting the creature. Reagan leaves the hearing aid connected to the radio station's microphone, allowing the broadcast signal to be weaponized by others. And then the movie cuts to black again, basically after both children have grown up and killed a creature themselves each.
Yeah. What do you like about this movie?
I really like the parallel narratives. I think that's fun. John was having fun with it by telling 2 stories at once, cutting back and forth between, where it then ends up culminating in literal, like, every couple seconds shots going back and forth between the 2 in their respective, like, climaxes.
I really like that the children basically go on, like, a hero's journey in this one. Like, obviously Reagan gets there in the first one, but even more so, she is the main character of this film.
Yeah, and Killian's, like, her little protector, like,
pretty
her
much,
little sidekick.
Yeah. And I like that it allows the son to get his moment, and, like, he grows throughout this film.
He's mostly a coward throughout because he's a child. And that makes sense.
And he ends up taking real responsibility. He's left home with the baby, which he's scared about, but he protects the baby to the point of, like, being
almost
willing to kill himself.
Yeah.
Being willing to suffocate to save the baby. And then he, at the end of the movie, when the frequency's on, he's the one who gets out of
the gun and
he gets out of, like, the little celery thing and gets the bunker, whatever, gets out and shoots the creature. Like, he has his hero's journey,
we're hitting
too.
themes already, but yes, I think it's, like, it's kind of almost about loss of innocence and like growing up for both of them. And like, that's his moment of like stepping into the role of responsibility, which he kind of has to after. These movies are very big on family values.
Yes.
Traditional family values, kind of. But he steps into like the father role, right? The protector role. I did air quotes for everyone because I'm rolling my eyes a little bit too, but that's fine. The themes are allowed to say that. And I like that for him, to be honest. Like, even if I do think the traditional family values are a little silly, like, I think it is a good arc for him.
Yes.
It's really is about like kind of growing up in this fucked up world.
I wouldn't care if he were a boy or a girl or whatever.
Agreed.
To become the protector.
Well, she is trying to be dad.
Yeah.
And she kind of is dad.
That's, I wrote
Lee,
that in my notes, is her motivation to help others feels very inspired by Lee. Like, she understands now everything he was doing was to like protect them, but then to also like, if he could figure out how to, he would have saved other people had he known how.
Yes.
Like, he would have. We know that from what we've seen of him. And so she is basically like stepping into his footsteps, inspired by the sacrifice that her father made for her, to like, she's willing to make that sacrifice of herself for other people.
And while we're on themes, I will say, I think a big part of this is also that she is showing like Cillian Murphy how to like live again and how to care about people again, and
100%.
pulling him out of his like rut.
Well, before I watched this movie, you were like, this just treads the same ground, and because of like already in this conversation, it does, but it adds more, and that's why I think this movie is worth existing. And continue about Cillian.
You're right. It does tread the same ground as the first one in a lot of ways,
but it does add.
But it adds.
And Cillian was my argument before I watched the movie.
Yeah,
so
I think a big part of him, obviously, is like family side. He has this like kind of cynical outlook on life. I don't think he's really interested in being around anymore.
Not at all.
And I feel like this family and their strive to survive and to protect other people kind of reignites that flame in him. And I really hope he is a big part of the next movie, because
I'm sure
I feel like he is now part of the family, you know, and he is not replacing Lee as like the father, because, you know, the kids can take care of themselves now. Is how it's set up. Like, everyone can take care of themselves, but he's like going to learn to like live and love again, I said, in this like destroyed world. Or maybe it won't be destroyed because everyone's got this broadcast now. They're going to be we're gonna have a little colony. And
even like in the beginning when they show up, he's like, get the F out of here. I don't want you here. Like, you're putting me at risk. So like, get out. I only have enough resources for myself. By the end of the movie, like, he sees that the boat has come up on shore. He immediately he could have hid. He could have done something. He immediately takes off running, screaming for people to get inside. He immediately picks up this random child.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he picks up the kid.
And in the end scene with Reagan, when she is in, like, the recording booth, like, he locks the door. He closes the door, and he leaves himself outside with the monster to essentially sacrifice himself.
For everyone else.
For everyone else. Like, he has his journey, too.
Yeah, of, like, going from selfish and sad to selfless. And maybe happy eventually.
Yeah.
I will also say Cillian Murphy just completely sells this. Like, he's just so good. Like, I
love him.
I can't tell you why. It's just
him.
He is just extremely talented, and you just know it when you see it.
He's also one of those people that like works for this kind of role because he can act with his face and nonverbals without any words. Even though he does actually get to talk in this compared to the first.
There is a lot more talking in this one, which I understand. The gimmick's gonna wear thin,
and it's relevant to the plot to like be able to talk. Like, where they are, they can speak. So I'm fine with it. I think it's emotionally so fucked in the beginning of this movie when they get to Cillian Murphy and they realize that Lee had the right instinct with the radio the whole time. He just wasn't close enough to get the broadcast. But he was right the whole time. He just wasn't able to get close enough for it to work. That is so emotionally screwed up.
It's good writing, I guess.
Yeah, I literally was like, fuck you, John. Like, I hate it.
Makes you feel things.
Yeah.
That's a gimme. Like, honestly, complete gimme for him, but take it. Good writers will, you know?
It worked for me. Made me feel things. Also,
we hit on a lot of the themes already, so you want to talk about what we like and don't like, or did you have other?
Because I think what I like is very much tied to those things that I was saying. Like, I like all of the things that I just said.
I will say, for me, that's good. I agree with you. A lot of things I said about the first one, I agree with. I think the performances are good. I really like the way the movie looks and the setting that they've like built.
I like that there's more world building in this
There
one,
is more world
which
building.
is used like through the setting that they're going through. I think you're able to have a lot more world building, and it makes sense because of that why this movie costs way more money.
But I want to complain about a couple things in terms of, so is that now, or do you want to say more things that you...
You can complain.
Okay. Now, I don't want to try to be the logic lawyer here, but I want to complain about a couple like things that I found to be a little lazy in the writing in this.
Okay.
Same thing with the creatures, got issues with that, but whatever, that's fine. I think, one, the bandits, listen, I get it, because that's a thing to have these, like, in the apocalypse, there are going to be people that are bad. People are the real monster, and that's fine. But I guess I'm just like almost sick of it at this point because it's done every single time because it's been done at Cillian Murphy 28 Days Later. Like, that's a big part of that movie. Right. And it's great there because it's the first time. The Last of Us. I love those games. Like, and it's been done there. Fucking The Walking Dead. Like, it's been done so many times, and then to just do it here, but only for like a really short period, felt really like
I actually
just annoying.
Was gonna say I was totally fine with it being a really short period of time because
you've seen it everywhere else.
I've seen it.
So okay,
and it also like makes sense because it kind of justifies why he is so bitter and shitty.
It does. I guess I think I just don't know if I thought it was like done well enough to even need to be there. And
that's fair enough.
And maybe I'm being a little pessimist about it, but because like if you do it well, it's great. Mm-hmm. If you do it well, it's great. It was just like fine in this. It was like, oh yeah, also there's some bad people out there because of course there are. But like it just didn't seem like relevant to everything else. It just kind of seemed like another obstacle that I didn't really need.
I guess like thematically, it just like serves to show the contrast between like how good of a person this little girl is. Little, I don't know, she's not that little anymore, but just to like show like this is what the world is coming to, but it's important that we have these people with a good heart who are willing to fight for other people. We haven't had in these films, we didn't have the contrast. Like, we have Cillian, but he's not that.
So they give you the contrast. I get it.
That's my argument.
I just found it to be
but
like, I'm
not saying that's my favorite scene because it's not.
It just.
Probably my least favorite scene, just because it's just not as interesting or fun.
I like when he attracts the creatures to kill them. That was kind of entertaining, but it was fine. It's just like something I've seen before. That's fine. I will also say the creature getting to the island by getting in a boat and it just like showing up felt very ham-fisted to me. Like the boat drifted to the island. And listen, I get it because that makes the scene way more tense and it was needed. The creature needed to get to the island.
And
but it was just like, sometimes I'm very good at suspension of disbelief, I would say. I will get into the movie. That was one that definitely took me out of it. It was just like, all right, yep, it got on the boat and the boat drifted magically to the island where the action is happening.
Well, their boat clearly did too.
I
don't know how much they paddled, but we also don't know how far the island is. Like, we really don't have any. I'm not
trying to like logic it. It's fine. I'm just saying that is something that took me out.
No, I get that. I think the scene following is just so good though that I'm like,
right.
Fine.
I can ignore it. I can ignore it after, but it's clearly something I've thought about since then. Where I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes I get it though. Sometimes you can write yourself into a corner.
When it started happening this second watch through, I started getting kind of giggly, and I don't know if it's because of that, because it's kind of silly.
And the creature looks goofy.
Or if it's, you don't see it you don't see it on the boat. You see that the boat is there because you've already seen the boat. Mm-hmm. But you don't see the creature until he is running up the hill.
And that's cool.
And all of a sudden it goes, whatcha!
The zoomies these creatures do, I love. They look like it's like when the cockroach is in your place and you go to try to get it, and all of a sudden it goes into hyperspeed, or like a spider going into hyperspeed. I do like that with the design, but I think that's really my only complaint. Maybe the creatures having water issues is kind of silly, but like whatever, that's fine.
They're allowed to not swim.
They're allowed to not be able to swim. Yeah. Those are, I think, my only complaints though, and then I had my complaints from before.
I don't have any like major complaints, just that Overall, I just find this one less fun. I just do. I don't know.
This has some much more tense scenes in the first.
I will give it that. There were a couple moments where I literally gasped. There was one time where I thought my heart was going to fall out my butt.
But overall, you just don't think it's as good?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's just, probably because it does retread some of the same ground.
Yeah.
So you're like, I've seen this.
Yeah.
But like Cillian Murphy's here, so like, nice. You know?
Exactly.
Like, oh, the kids are doing cool stuff. Nice. But then at the same time, it just doesn't really feel like it elevates you past the first one. I get that. It's hard.
Yeah.
Maybe John will learn that with the third one. Have a real heater of a movie. Here's where we're at with this. So I was excited for day one because I was like, yeah, the first two, like, they're very similar. Like, I want something that, let's go out there with this. Let's do something crazy. But then the most recent trailers make me think like, oh, this is just going to be the same thing again.
I also feel like it's going to be the same as the opening scene to this movie. Like when it starts in this small town.
Which is awesome.
Which is sick as hell. But it was a perfect 15 minutes. Yeah. And I don't need it for an hour and a half.
We'll see. We could be wrong, though. But that's my issue is like you can't just keep hitting the same stuff. Like you need to drastically like change the story. You need to do something. You can still have the creatures. You can still be in this world.
Started too with like the island and all that. Like again, like we said, there's stuff about it that is unique and different. But
give me some people that have tamed the creatures and are riding them. Like that's what I want for the sequel.
That's dumb.
No. What if the bandits were like had one and they were riding one? That'd be so cool. Or had them on chains. You know. All right. What if they built a park where they put them in and then people paid money to come see them? And then a guy shut off the fences to steal embryos of them. I know. And then they broke out, and then our heroes had to escape the island.
It's basically the opposite.
You see where I'm going with it?
Yes, I do.
I'm doing good bits here. We like to do bits. We like to have fun here.
Shut the fuck up.
We've been talking about Jurassic Park a lot.
Yeah, because it's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Not even a Spielberg top 10.
Fuck you.
It's not. It's great. It is great. That's more about Spielberg than it is about Jurassic.
I love Jurassic Park so much.
I get it.
It's literally one of my favorite.
I get it. It's not even a Spielberg top 10. That's not even a hot take.
You want to get to know me? You watch Jurassic Park.
It's fantastic. It's a phenomenal film.
I had the box set of all three, and I was a real pain in the ass about it.
After the first one. Not great, but
that's fine. But I was still obsessed.
Let's rate this thing. Unless you got anything else you want to say, or do you have hot takes about this movie other than it's not as good as the first?
That's not a hot take. That it's not as good as the first. I think, although critically it didn't do that much worse than the first. Rotten Tomato score is within 5. Oh, guess the Rotten Tomato score.
On this one, 85%.
Guess the first one. I said it's within
92%.
So.
You said within 5.
96 and 91.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, with how Rotten Tomatoes works, I'm on board with that. This one, okay. So
pretty impressive for a horror movie, because I always say you add 20%.
Yeah, literally. So this the first one had 116%
for a horror
positive movie, reviews. I gave the first one 8.5, so I'm going to give this an 8.
This one's getting a 7 from me.
Oh, you think it's...
I don't know.
A whole point worse.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first saw it, you said it was better.
I think it emotionally impacted me more at the end, which would make me feel in recency bias that I thought it was better. But thinking about the two now, yes. I find the first one to be the more straightforward and like streamlined, kind of like perfect film. Mm-hmm. Perfect's not the right word. And the second one doesn't take a big enough swing for me. Kind of like how I talk about Get Out and Us, how I like Us better than Get Out, because I don't think it's a perfect film by any means, but like the swing it takes is enormous, and it might not hit the home run, but like what it does I think is so cool, where like Get Out is actually just like a perfect movie. This one's kind of like, well, you know what, the first one's pretty perfect for what it is, other than my couple complaints, and the second one is basically more of the same. Mm-hmm. Like no big swing, but just not nearly as good. So yeah, levels of good. That was a roundabout way to explain.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get that. Well, to finish this out, a quote from...
I need him to take a swing. Sorry. Take a swing on this third one, Jim Office. Please, like, do something crazy.
Okay. To finish this out, a quote from Stephen King praising the film. A Quiet Place is an extraordinary piece of work, terrific acting, but the main thing is the silence and how it makes the camera's eye open wide in a way few movies manage. Felt like a great summary of what we said.
I completely agree with what he's saying, and he would know. Like, to be honest, like that, he's totally right. Mm-hmm. It really does change the medium a little bit, especially for a horror movie.
Forget where else I saw this, but someone else said, the movie that widened my perspective for what sound can do in movies and made me hyper aware of that. What an incredible piece of art.
People gotta watch older movies. Go watch, like, Nosferatu. I've never seen it, Symphony of Terror. Is that what it's called? Symphony of Darkness? I feel stupid. Somebody look it up. I'm not gonna correct myself.
Somebody. Who's somebody?
Somebody. Anybody.
The 2 people that listen to this?
There's more than 2. We've been killing it on YouTube.
Well, yeah, it's because
you're going to look it up? You're looking it up? Hannah's looking it up.
It's Nosferatu.
A Symphony of Horror.
A Symphony of Horror.
There we go. Okay. Well, I am Matt Hannah.
Real quick, before we close out, I've said that like 4 times. I'm like, to end this. We did like a little post on our Instagram saying, what is your favorite horror sequel? Wanted to read the results.
Sure.
No one said this.
No one said this? Okay.
Aliens is the best. Game over, man. Ripley kicking butt and Paul Reiser character being killed.
Okay.
That was Dairyland Frights. Paranormal Pennsylvania said Saw 2. I don't know if it's the best, but the traps were inventive and the concept is cool.
That's a good pick. I mean, it's not better than the first one, but Saw 2 is very fun. I like that one a lot.
They also said Insidious: The Last Key was a great prequel. The whole series ties things together in a really clever way.
I haven't seen.
Give Me Back My Horror Movies said Evil Dead 2 is the GOAT.
Yeah, they are correct.
I was expecting that to be the comment that everyone made.
You know what else is the GOAT? Evil Dead 2014. It is damn good. I will scream from the rafters. I watched all 5 of them in a row, remember? Mm-hmm. I loved is it 2014? It might not be 2014. Shit. It came out, the Evil Dead remake, but it's not really a remake. It is basically a sequel. It's awesome. Okay. It is so damn good.
Well, I'll just say, as a sequel, I think this is a good.
Can I name some sequels?
That you like?
Dream Warriors, right? You like that? Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
Did I see that?
Yeah, we watched it.
Oh, well, no. It's not nearly as good as the first one. I don't know. I would say no.
Oh, damn.
I disagree.
Okay. I thought it was a good sequel. I'm not saying it's as good as the first one. I just think it's a good sequel.
I think if you're thinking sequels that are almost as good as the first or better, I feel like this could fall in.
Oh, I'm struggling.
Pirates of the Caribbean 2. That's not horror. I just love that movie. It's not nearly as good. It's like going from a 10 to a 7, but I love that movie.
I'm struggling to think of horror sequels that I like. How about... Oh, no, I was going to say Halloween I like Prometheus better than Alien's Covenant. Okay, yeah, Halloween Kills is pretty fun. I don't know if it's better than Halloween 2018, though.
I don't know.
Halloween Ends I like, too, but...
people hate that one.
Yeah, but people are dumb sometimes.
I don't think I like that one that much.
Halloween Ends should have been how the franchise started, maybe. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't make sense either.
No, it doesn't.
I have to think about this. I'm lost. I had a thought about this before. Someday I'll remember it.
That's what the people said.
I'm out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you can find podcasts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!